Can you hear me all right? Awesome. Well, I want to start by just saying thanks. First of all, you have done the biggest thing you can possibly do in life that we always take for granted. What you did tonight is required in everything that we do to go forward, and that's show up. And it's way bigger than you will ever imagine. When I started showing up in life, my life drastically changed. And I wouldn't go back for anything. And it's huge. You would be amazed at the amount of people that follow me on Facebook, the amount of people I called, I texted, and I messaged. But because of the fear of showing up in what this was, I see a very few amount of them. And that told me something. That told me something that there's a lack in people wanting to show up and live their lives. And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I see that by showing up, we can create connection with each other. If you didn't come today, Kelly couldn't present what she wanted to present. Chris couldn't present what she wanted to present. And the reality is, you made Kelly's dreams come true so much that she gave you $1, right? I mean, this woman called me, messaged me so many times about all these great ideas and how this all got created. And it's amazing. And I just want to thank you because really, people in this room are the people that make a difference in life. The people that are stayed at home tonight and are watching television, are, looking on Facebook, they're not creating much. But you created something for us, and in turn, we get to create something for you. And it's amazing. It truly is, and we take it for granted every day. So thank you for showing up. I want to thank Chris and Kelly for really creating this and asking me to be a part of it. I had no idea what was going to happen. I get this phone call from Kelly, hey, you should come present with me and Chris. And of course, I've heard Chris's story. You know, Chris is amazing. She's this life coach. She's changed my life. I already knew she was amazing. I didn't even have to meet her, because I know how amazing Kelly is. And the reality is, without these two women, I wouldn't be standing here. I might be at home looking on Facebook, right? But guess what? They called and I showed up. And in turn, something's going to happen. And tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, I'm going to look back and say, wow, what did I get out of this night? And that's what I challenge you to do. Think about it. Don't think about, why is he wearing a purple shirt or why is his pants too tight? Think about something that Kelly said, something that Chris said and I said to share. Because really, that's how God teaches all of us, right? He gets the right people in the right places to affect each other, to teach each other. That's how I ended up here today. And I want to tell you a little bit of my story of how that was, and it'll give you the proof and evidence that usually is required for people to take action, for people to say, okay, I'm no longer going to accept the life that I have, I'm going to do something about it. And it makes it worthwhile. See, we think about it backwards, and all this is from experience. I thought, okay, as soon as I have a lot of money, as soon as I have the prettiest wife, as soon as I have a sports car, I'll be happy, right? There, it's all out here. But as soon as I obtained any of those things, it was just on to the next thing because I had programmed my brain to be in love with the idea of the future rather than embracing the present. And that's truly the shift that I made to lead me here today. My main topic that I'm going to talk about is the 4th chapter in my book. And it's the 4th chapter because I literally wrote my book to document my life of what the transformations took. It happens to be chapter 4, but I brought it because it's what I believe to be the easiest and most effective way to create change. And that's removing negative distractions while implementing positive action. Now, I had this huge transformation. I'll explain it later. But the reality is that was the thing in my life that started me going the other direction. It started me thinking the other direction and taking action the other direction. 2 huge things in my life that I knew if I didn't do it, I wouldn't get anything. But if I did, I could have everything. And in the reality of making this transition, I started to learn, watching the proof and the evidence as I went forward and looking back, what truly was happening, rather than looking ahead going, what's going to happen? Because I stopped thinking and I started acting, and then I just looked back and saw what I had done and said, way to go. I like it. It feels good. I'll keep taking the same action. So, I want to give you a little bit of common knowledge. We all know that you could get on the internet and find out how to be happy. And if you literally followed anything in there, it would work for a little bit. But what I've seen work is taking personal action and attaching it to the results that you can look back at and see in your life and see what you've truly created. And for me, it took a lot of pain and suffering in society's point of view. But what I see it as is a total blessing. You know? So, I do this in every one of my presentations. I'm Nathan Anderson. I am an unstoppable force for success, happiness, and pure unconditional love. I am a no matter what guy. God has got my back and I've got His always. I'm the greatest force for good ever. Ever. In life, love, and truth, I'm all in, out loud. And I'm just getting started. Now, that is a prime example of something that God gave me through somebody else, because I showed up. That person showed up. Right? And it's a positive action. And when God taught me how to do it, He taught me how to replace a negative distraction, which was my brain waking up every morning telling myself I wasn't a good dad, I was a bad husband, I was never going to get my dreams and goals. Right? Like most of us, wake up, we hate our lives until we can get home and distract ourselves with something. Right? That was one of the first things He put into me. And just like you today, you're probably saying, this guy's crazy. That's okay. Because I'm the happiest crazy person you will ever meet. Right? And if you are happier than me, come talk to me, because I got something to learn from you. Right? That's why I'm here. That's why I can do what I do. I don't even take notes. Right? I'm in this all day long. I'm not in this sitting here in my head going, what do I say to impress them? What do I do? I say, how am I living my life? What is working? And I'm constantly engaging in it over and over and over. And there's two things I'm talking about: removing the negative distractions while implementing positive actions. Pure powerful, if you will implement them into your life. If you will seriously take them on and not blow them off like, whatever, I'll never be like that guy. He's too weird, right? You've got to literally take it on. And once you do and you create a little pile of evidence, of proof behind you, you will be amazed at how much happier you are. So today I want to tell you a little bit about that. But to get to the place of how I became that, how I decided that one day I was no longer going to be the Nathan Anderson, construction worker, stoned all day, drink all night, distract myself with pornography, Nathan Anderson, to the guy that was going to show up and go to seminars and exercise and own everything that he had done in the past, make amends, be the best, honest, pure person he could be, because it worked. Because that's why I was put here. I was put here to be an amazing person, just like every one of you. I just didn't get it. Nobody taught me, right? I didn't go through life, run into people at the grocery store and have them ask me, hey man, what did you do today to be a greater person? I had people ask me where the Cheerios were or what kind of beer I liked, right? We get so caught up in the day-to-day, hey, what should we do or how should it look, that we forget that we were put here to enjoy life, right? And it took a lot of time. See, I'd say our programming starts when we're 4 years old. I'm 36. So 31 years, it took me of struggling, fighting the way life was taught or shown to me with the people ahead of me, all my examples doing the very best they could. right? And I see that they did. People were just doing their best. But the reality was, nobody taught me how to genuinely be happy. They were all trying to be happy themselves and couldn't quite figure it out and stop and say, what is happiness? So, my story goes like this. I was a lost person, very lost, right? I grew up on a farm. My dad was an addict alcoholic with a very great sense of humor. Everybody loved him, and he worked really hard. My mother, to handle the situation of what she had dealt with, raising 5 kids and a dad that was an alcoholic addict, became a chameleon, and she really adapted, right, to every circumstance. And I remember very clearly as a kid watching her shift from person to person. You know, the home teachers would come over and it was a certain way. We put on certain clothes. You know, my dad's brother comes over and they're drinking beer and we can run amok and take our clothes off and anything goes. Right? I learned. I watched. And I saw that it worked for both of them. So in turn, what did I turn out to be? I turned out to be a really hardworking addict, alcoholic, that was very good at fitting in, being a chameleon. So with everyone in my life, I adapted to the situation I was in. And I thought, hey, if I'm like them, then I'll be happy. If I can fit in, I'll be happy. And so that's what I tried to do, being miserable all along the way. And I see it was all necessary. Now that I look back at it, God was building me from the time I was a kid. I tried on being a stoner. I was a bully. I got bullied. I was the jock. I was the most popular kid. And these were things I didn't even try to be. I just happened by circumstance to fall into this place. I remember feeling so lost as I was growing up, thinking, who am I? And why am I always so different? Why every year do I change? You know, I remember in high school, I was walking in one day and I'd grown my hair out. Yes, I had hair at one time. And it was really long. It was the first time I ever did it. And this girl came up to me that I knew from the previous year and said, hey, are you new at this school? And I was like, whoa, it really took me back. I'm like, my hair's just different, right? Maybe I was in the sun a little bit more. But in that moment, I realized how much I had changed to try and fit into society and how I tried to fit in to be happy and how it didn't work. And because it didn't work, the addiction and the alcoholism was intensified. It became a regular day occurrence. And it created a lot of side effects that were not good in my life. You know, it created a lot of bad relationships, a lot of fake relationships, a lot of manipulation. And along the way, I'm trying to find happiness, but I'm not finding anything, right? I'm finding more struggle, more doubt, more regret, more resentment about life, and the fact that my life is not turning out right. That's where I see this came into play. Removing negative distractions, implementing positive actions. God along the way was showing me all of the negative distractions in the world. And I was soaking them up. I was taking them on over and over and over again. Well, because of my life and my choices, I found myself in the lowest place ever. I just finished a flip house. I was in construction, I flipped houses. And my wife had asked me to leave the apartment. We were separated. I was all alone. And I called her and asked her a dreaded question. You know, she had moved on because, of course, I was who I was. I was living the life of a chameleon, addict, alcoholic. And I knew the answer, and I asked the question, you know, about the guy she was with. And I remember getting that answer and instantly losing it. I had pretended for so long that I had it all together, that just around the corner I was going to figure it out. Next year, Once I make 100 grand, I'll be happy. Things will work out in my life, right? Continually reaching for that. And at that moment, I had realized when I got that answer, everything that I'd done up to that point was totally my doing. God put it in me in that moment. This is all you. And I couldn't handle it. I couldn't. I started to cry. I broke down. I could not believe that it took me that long to figure it out. And at this time, I didn't even believe in God. It's not that I didn't believe in him, but I was the chameleon. So if I was around you and you believed in God, I was like, yeah, God's cool. But if I was around you and you were an atheist, I was like, yeah, I don't know about God. He's just whatever. Yeah, let's just get along and then everything will be safe and we can go on to doing something fun, something distracting, some drugs, some alcohol. And in that moment when I realized this, I totally lost control. My feelings, my thoughts, my emotions went crazy. And at this time, I was kind of going a little crazy from this breakup, from this separation. And what I would do is I'd go to the mirror and I would talk to myself because I felt so alone because I'd tried to adapt. And I remember getting up, sobbing, walking to the bathroom to see in the mirror, and my legs got chopped out from underneath. It was literally like I remember having the thought, where'd my legs go, right? And now I'm on my knees, and I'm broken down, and I raise my hands up, and I just say, help. I had finally surrendered in my life to something greater than me. I had no idea what it was. I just asked for help. And from that moment on, that was the first night I got up, I went to bed, and I actually slept. I couldn't even sleep on sleeping pills. And truth be known, I got them mixed up, and they're actually Tylenol half the time. But still, I wasn't sleeping, right? I fell asleep. And I'll correct myself a lot because I'm very big on love and truth. And the reality is from that moment on, God started to show me his thing. Now, my thing isn't about God, right? I'm just about love and truth. But in my story, in my life for the last 14 months, that's what it's been. It's been me thinking I was in total control of my life and it was awesome, to the reality that I was not in control at all, and God had a great plan for me. And obviously, the fact that I'm standing in this room talking about it, this has something to do with it, right? And I have no doubt. I had zero amount of fear about this because he has shown me over the last 14 months to just show up, do what I'm supposed to do, and it's going to lead to the next place. So that's what I started to do once he showed me. And I got crazy stories, crazy stories of remote control cars going across the floor and, okay, you're showing me you're here, and then going and checking them out, and they don't have any batteries in it, right? And I'm just like, okay, and before I know it, I got comfortable enough with it. Comfortable enough to have a conversation. 14 months later, comfortable enough to stand up in front of 55 plus people and talk about it. But the reality is along the way, he taught me, right? He taught me to create space for him, chapter 1. Chapter 2, he taught me to be God honest with myself and everybody around me. Chapter 3, how to be pure love, right? Chapter 4, how to remove negative distractions and implement positive action. Now I understand in talking to him why he wants me to teach on chapter 4. Because you can literally take chapter 4, whether you believe in God and you don't, and you can affect your life in a positive way. Where the other 3 might take you to be a drug addict for 31 years like me, thinking you're in charge of your life. Okay, another truth. 15 years being a drug addict, alcoholic. 31 years figuring it out to get to this place. So I want to talk a little bit about negative distractions and implementing positive actions. Now, you can do them separately, but I was taught to do them together. So my big thing was, my big examples were waking up in the morning and realizing my life was destroyed, and I destroyed it, right? I was a terrible dad, terrible husband, lied to my friends, manipulated my family to make them think that I was this amazing person. thinking I was doing it all right. What did he have me do? Had me get up, do declarations. Had me get up, sing. Get up, dance. Get up and exercise. Now, I thought it was nuts, right? And he doesn't say, hey, Nate, get up and exercise. He goes, exercise, exercise, exercise. And the word will not get out of my head until I exercise. And I exercise, and guess what? New word comes up. Exercise is done. It works. And then I look back and go, wow, I've been waking up every morning for the last 2 weeks, and I've been exercising like that word that's been going in my head, and it's been making a difference. That's why I'm teaching on it. I'm teaching on it because it works. I'm teaching on it because he told me about it, and it's changed my life. From 14 months ago, I would have been a drunk, stoned construction worker with work boots on, a dirty t-shirt, and overgrown facial hair and a donut, right? Because I'm bald. I'm that guy, right? You wouldn't even recognize me. To a guy that before this didn't even have a sport jacket, right? And wearing skinny jeans and pointy shoes. It's just not me until now. And now I couldn't see myself as anything else because this is who God wanted me to be. I wanted to be the other guy because it was safe, it looked good. My uncles, my friends, they're construction workers. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a macho construction worker that drinks beer. Okay? You couldn't force me to drink a beer right now because of what it was in my life. You couldn't force me to do a drug because of what it was in my life. I'm not saying drugs and alcohol are good or bad. Somebody out there might be doing them and think that they're amazing. But for me, they were a negative distraction. So I took them out of my life and I implemented something positive because I was shown. And I truly believe that I'm here to teach that. To teach what I have learned in a way that doesn't take 15 years of addiction and 31 years of struggle, that somebody can take and implement into their lives immediately. And if you think about it and you're honest with yourself, you can probably come up with 10 off the top of your head. You come home from work, right? And you're like, oh, my boss is a jerk. Or that lady that I have to work with, oh my gosh, she has so much perfume, she smells. And then she farts and thinks we can't tell because she smells like roses, right? We all have that stuff. And most of us don't laugh about it. It drives us crazy. So what do? We come home and we eat, right? Oh, I can't wait to get home, crack open the fridge, and, mine was beer and candy. Great mixture, right? But it's like everyone has that. Everyone has, okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to go watch whatever's on TV. I don't watch TV. Breaking Bad, or what's another terrible one I watched? The Walking Dead, right? Let's watch that. What's funny about that is that was a distraction. And what I realize from that now is if any of that gets in my head, how much that stays in me, right? And what it does to me. Because I rarely don't seek it out because it doesn't give me what I want. I'm not here to be the guy that says Elvis and rock and roll is bad. I'm here to say what you're doing with your life doesn't work, right? And if it did, if people's lives worked, this place would be packed. People would be like, oh, I saw the video. It's about love and truth and like progress and connecting to people. Let's show up and get some of that. But they're like, no, that's not going to work. I sat there and thought, I want to tell people this isn't a network marketing thing. Because I guarantee you, half the people I was talking to thought that, oh, they're going to sell me something. They put some sort of fear base to it, and they said, I don't want to do that. It's cold tonight. I want to stay home and watch whatever's on. And that's the reality of the choices that we're making that give us the results that we have, right? And I know, hands down, you're going to leave here, and I'm going to make your life better. Not because necessarily you're going to take anything on, but I'm not a TV show. I'm something different in your life that made you think differently, whether I pissed you off or made your day. You're going to go, wow, that was something different, and it stirred something up. That's all I have to do. That's my job, right? Is to be the anti-way society does everything. And I love it. I love being the weird guy that smiles at everyone. Positive action. Smile at everyone. Try it on. See what it does. High fives. Do you know what she did that to me and how many people I did that to after and the connection it made? It drove me crazy happy. I was like, wow. Just high fives. You don't even have to open your mouth. You don't even have to smile. Makes it kind of more interesting if you don't smile. You know? Because then people wonder. You stir them up even more. The thing I see about the whole thing, and what's really important, is that we decide to take on our lives. Something got you in these seats. Whatever it is, you love Kelly, you love me, you love Chris, you were intrigued, you're smart, you're amazing, right? There's something that got you in the seat, and you get to choose what that is. You get to choose, what do I do with what I chose? Really, do I get to change today? Do I get to do something different? Or do I go back to being the same way? Now, I don't want you to do what I did. I want you to do your purpose. I don't want you to take on my life and go, oh, I don't want to be a presenter, a weird guy that smiles at everybody. That's not what it's about. That's what God had intended for me. God has something amazing intended for you. He just doesn't want you to waste all this time watching TV or looking at porn or fantasizing how great it's going to be tomorrow. He wants you to connect to the ones you love, right? Smile. Have gratitude, compassion, and understanding for people, and take action on it. Do something, not even big, just little, because there's a huge ripple effect, both directions. If you think about it, you see something negative, what kind of ripple effect that could have on society? You see something that makes you mad, you go to the grocery store and somebody bumps into you, hey, pal. Then he gets mad because you said, hey, pal, and then he's going down, his kid's crying, and he smacks his kid upside the head. Then his kid's upset, so he's throwing a fit, right? It's the same thing with something good in your life. You can create something amazing by that ripple effect, by taking something that can create good and allowing that to have a ripple effect, right? You can have a high five, the high five revolution. You can smile and create this massive change, but you don't think so because you're distracted. The difference is I know so. I know in life what I do creates results because I keep doing it and then I watch. Right? I look back there and I go, wow, I ran into that guy 3 times at the grocery store and now he's my friend, and before he wouldn't even talk to me. But I keep smiling at him, asking him how his day was over and over. And the thing is I'm not attaching any results to it because I'm not looking forward. I'm just looking back and looking at the evidence behind me. Right? And we're taught in society to do it the other direction. We're taught to go, dream big, have all these great goals, but not to live in the present or look at everything that's happened and what I've really truly created along the way. So I challenge you in your life to think about it. What is the negative distractions in your life and the positive action that you could counter with? And just try it on and see what it does. See how it affects you. See if it makes your life better. Why not? It doesn't even take that much effort. I'm not even telling you which ones to do. I'm not telling you run 10 miles a day. I'm telling you do something positive. You wake up in the morning, you have a negative thought in your head. What could you do that could replace that? So many things. You go listen to music. You could read your scriptures or the Bible. You could pray. You could go for a jog. Go for a walk. You could talk to the dog. You could hug your spouse. You could kiss your kid, right? Things you're probably taking for granted right now. But I guarantee you, if you have that negative thought and you replace it with something positive, that's what you will get. You will get something positive. And that thing that you interacted with will get something positive also. The dog will love you more, right? Your kid will love you more. Society will love you more. And trust me, I've been doing this for 14 months. Everybody loves me. That's not me talking. That's everyone else. Kelly talks and she says it, and I'm like, yeah, she's right. Because I have no agenda but to love. And the reason is because I look back, and guess what? I can see a lot of cool stuff since I started loving people. A lot of weird stuff, crazy little things, but it's worth it, right? It's worth it to stand up here and go, I'm going to keep showing up and doing this. Okay, Kelly thinks I'm going to be the most amazing thing since sliced bread, right? Maybe I will. Cool. But that's not, I'm cool if I'm not, I'm cool if I am. That's the reality. Because I love my life whether this place has 5 people in it, it's packed, or whether I'm at the Vivint Smart Home Theater, right? With everybody, right? And honestly, I think that's going to be a pain in the ass. If Kelly's right, then it's going to take a lot more energy and time and people and situations that I'm going to have to deal with. I would rather, honestly, if I can make it up, but I don't get to make it up, I would make it a nice, easy crowd, not too much attention, so I could have my space and time, right? But I know I know well that along the way it's not going to be what I think it's going to be anyways. Just like I didn't think the first 35 years of my life were going to be. But this last 14 months, I didn't think it was going to be this way either. But what had changed is my action. And when my action changed, my mind changed. And when my mind changed, everything around me started to change. Nobody taught me. Nobody showed me. I didn't follow one person's way. I followed every person's way. I found things that worked, and I kept doing them. I kept implementing them. And the biggest things is I lived in love and truth. Right? I was honest with myself. I was honest with the other people. And I learned things along the way, like Chris's teaching, like Kelly's teaching, like God's teaching. Right? It's all available to us all the time. All of it. The only difference between my happiness and your happiness is I'm choosing mine and you're choosing yours. Every day we wake up and we get to decide what we do with it. We get to decide if we show up to some new weird thing. But when we decide, something happens. Something different. And I ask you, what do you do now? Where do you go from here? Right? Do you take this and go, that guy's weird, and go back to your same life and say, oh, Kelly was sweet and funny, and go back to your same life? Or say, wow, Chris had a lot to say. I loved her pyramid. I loved her ideas. I loved that I could be healed, right? Through a different modality. Do you do something like that, or do you go back to being the same way? I say, why go back unless you're happy? If you're completely happy and everything's great, awesome. Keep going. You should stand up and tell somebody. You should teach somebody if that's the case. But I found I tried everything. I tried every character I could find, every situation I could find, even ones that I thought would never work in a million years. I tried on. And the reality is, until I was open to the fact that I wasn't in control, and it had to do with what I was doing every day as far as negative distractions and implementing positive action, I couldn't create change. I love this. I can feel you. That's how cool it gets, right? And I never know where it's going to go. In my brain, I never know. Okay, hold on, time out. How am I on time? I don't have my phone anymore. Oh, wow. Awesome. Okay. And I got to be done by what time? 9. So we got 19 minutes? Okay. Excellent. Okay. This is what I want because I feel some cool energy. I want questions and answers. Do you guys have any questions? If I raise a hand. Right here. Okay. I love it. Awesome question. What I took out of that was the balance between, yes, I've got to be in control of taking action myself, but I'm not in control. Like God's in control. Well, in my circumstance, it's because I'm listening. I'm actually taking time to pray, meditate, stay in positive action to listen. So I can say I'm in control because once I'm prompted, I do it. Like I've been prompted to say yes. Say yes, right? Okay, say yes. Kelly calls, hey, you want to do this? Yes, right? That's the thing. I can't say it's for everybody else, but it's the truth. You know, there's a lot of things that I'm prompted to that are really hard that challenge me, right? To be vulnerable or insecure. Example, a part in my book, when I started to be God honest with myself, right? I made it a very strict effort for what I was doing. And I actually picked this up from my ex-wife. we were talking one day, and she's like, we were talking about shift in language, and the phrase "no worries" came up. And I don't know if she came up with it or I came up with it, but I decided to change it to "it's all good," because every day people would come up to me, be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it's all good, no worries." You know? Well, no, I don't. I didn't say "it's all good, no worries." That's what I do now when I mess it up. I'd say, things are good, no worries, right? Something like that. I'd use the phrase "no worries." Or, I'd be walking through. Right. Thank you, ex-wife. I love her, by the way. That shows you what love and truth can do. Yeah, so what I was getting to is I took the negative phrase and turned it into a positive word. Because "no worries" is used a lot. Like, "Oh, no worries." Someone bumps you, or "Excuse me, no worries." And so I had made the commitment to use "it's all good." And so I'm walking, and normally to make it easy on myself, when I would say it, I'd hurry and quickly fix it. So it sounded pretty normal. So I'd say "no worries," and then I'd be like, "it's all good." And they'd be like, "Okay, whatever." But after a while, I got comfortable and I didn't slip up that much. And I'm in Home Depot and I'm walking, and a guy kind of bumps me, and he's like, "Sorry." I said, "No worries." And then I kept walking, right? And so I'm like 20 feet down the aisle, and I look back and I'm like, "Oh, man." And I'm like, "But it's my truth. You got to do it." See, but I've already left him. And so I'm like, this is going to be super weird. And I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to build the courage, and as I'm trying to build it, it's getting worse. Like, I'm like, "Oh." So I rush over to him, and he's there, and I get his attention. I'm like, "Hey, man, it's all good." And he looks at me, and he's kind of like, "Okay." And I'm like, "See ya," and I run off. But what I'm doing is I'm training my subconscious and my conscious at the same time that I'm not going to give up on myself. No matter how weird or crazy I'm going to look, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop and say it's okay. Because once I say it's okay, then it never ends. Right? So I make this conscious effort to listen to what I'm prompted to do, follow it even though it might seem crazy, and then I do it. But if it were up to me, I wouldn't go back, right? I would be like, "No, I don't want to do it," but then I get my old life. So when I say I control it, but I don't control it, it's really I'm listening to my promptings, and then I'm controlling doing the hard thing. I'm controlling going, this is what he wants me to do, so I'm going to do it, especially when it's hard. So sorry, I thought about my Home Depot thing, and I was like, I got to tell that story. So thank you. Kelly? Okay, great question. I'm just, in my mind, I'm trying to say, okay, keep it under like an hour. I would have to say for me, the biggest thing was being God honest with myself about it, was looking at it and going, what is this really doing to me? And just keeping it simple and saying, okay, I just drank. What do I truly feel? Why did I truly want to drink? What am I getting out of this experience? And looking at it in that way instead of being in my story about it the whole time. Like, oh, drinking is fun, and drinking is Mexico, and drinking is bikinis, and drinking is, summertime volleyball, right? All these little things I had that made it cool, right? But when I was drinking, I was rarely in those situations. I was on my couch with my hand in my pants watching TV, right? And that's the reality is I started to look at it honestly and what the effects of it were to me, what the good side effects and the negative side effects were in doing it. And that really allowed me to step back and look at it, almost as if it was somebody else, right, doing their thing. Somebody else, and I just was standing back and being an observer to Nathan and going, oh, okay, well, you did this. Oh, you tend to drink when you get off work and you're angry. You tend to drink too much when you're full of anxiety and stress. You tend to drink when you don't want to deal with your problems, right? And then seek out the people that can help you. Like, I was sober 12 months, 13 months before I even started going to AA. And God said, go to AA. Well, he said, go to Al-Anon. I went to Al-Anon. I'm sitting in Al-Anon, and AA was next door. And he said, you belong in there. I went, what? I'm sober. I don't belong there. But I listened, right? And I went, going back to having control, but not being in control, right? Having control of my action, but not being in control of where I should go in life. And I truly believe that's because I've cleared so much of the negative distraction out of my life and implemented so much positive action, I'm clear. That's why I can stand up here. Literally, I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about negative distraction and positive action. And I'll tell my stories, and I know God will be a lot of a part of it. That's how I prepared, right? But that's because my head is so clear that I'm not thinking, oh, that guy blinked, or oh, she walked out, or oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. None of that's in my brain because it's clear, because I'm not distracting, right? And that was one of the realities I saw with drugs, alcohol, and pornography, is it filled my head up so full of garbage that I didn't have any space for good. I didn't have the room to create. And now I do. And now, for some reason, a stoner construction worker that had to go back to the 2x4 3 times to read 18 3/4 inches because he couldn't remember by the time he got to the skill saw, can now stand up in front of a crowd and talk for hours and hours and hours. And my biggest problem is, Nate, you've got a time limit. They're only going to sit here for so long. It's going to end. So you've got to think logically of what you can give them that is going to impact their lives and they can go out and change. Kelly. Okay. Yes. It started gradually. I'll keep it quick. Started gradually that night. Things started happening. This is how I can do it. 3 main things that he uses with me, right? He uses repetition. Something he'll do 3 times. Say something 3 times and I know. Some experience, like Periscope. If anyone's seen that, that was one of the latest ones, right? Someone came up to me and was like, hey, you should do Periscope. Like, oh, that's a cool idea. Well, I'm already doing Facebook and busy talking to God all day. Next person, hey, have you heard of Periscope? This guy on here is so cool. In a whole different way, right? They didn't want me to do it. They're just showing me some guy. And then another friend says, Nate, you should really do Periscope. Well, I got it. And I went, okay, got it. Gives me goosebumps, warms me up, several little different things. And I go, okay, I'm going to do Periscope. I don't know why. It's just time to do Periscope. That's one of the things, is patterning. The other thing is actual emotion. Like, I'll be driving down the road, like my book, right? It's not even written. It's like 5th chapter, and I've got a rough CD that I want to sell, or I'll get to that later. I'm driving down the road. The day after I decided to, he told me to write it. Funny story is, a guy came to me, wanted me to train him because I was doing coaching and personal training. Trained him. He happens to be a writer. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. The day I go in after he's done with his 10 session, I'm walking through the door, or the night before, God says, Nate, write your book. I go, okay, I guess I'm writing a book. He goes, use he used this. How I built you, use it as a template to build others. And I went, okay. So I would sit down every night with God, well, periodically, within a month's, maybe 2-month period, I would sit down with my headphones in a phone. And chapter 1 was make space for God, because that's what he did. He literally came into my life, and I just started making space for him and said, okay, let's work this out. And then I talked in the phone for 15 minutes and sent it to the writer. And then he transcribes it. We sit down, and he actually makes it sound good and not just sound like a guy sitting on his couch in the underwear eating fruit in the middle of the night, right? And trust me, if you buy it, you can hear that. So that's what I would do. So now I have this guy that just is in my life because God put him there. God tells me the night before to write my book. And I'm like, okay. I start my first chapter. I go in the very next day. I'm walking through the door to the gym, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of dreading. I got to talk to Jason because I got to get money from him, and that's weird, and I don't want to do it. And God says, have him write your book. And I went, okay, cool. Walk up to him. I said, hey, man, was just walking in here because I'm all about truth. God told me to ask you to write my book. You want to write my book and I'll train you? Looks at me, thinks for a minute. Okay. Now he's writing my book. You know, I just listen. God puts the right people in the right places, and I listen. Right? I get prompted, and that's where I go with it. I go with the promptings to move forward. And I don't ask why anymore. Because trust me, if I sat here and listed off, a lot of it doesn't make sense until I look back. You know, and I go, oh, okay. So I wrote my book, or started writing my book. This is another way God talks to me. I'm driving down the freeway. Totally forgot that I'm writing a book. I worked out, I'm sore, I got a coffee. Out of nowhere, God tells me bestseller. And I start to cry uncontrollably. Driving down the freeway. I almost had to pull over because it was that instant and that out of control. I didn't even have time to compute the word bestseller. It just was said to me. That's how he says. And then I pay attention. Because I know if I don't, next time I'm going to cry and crash my truck. Like, that's how impactful it is. Right? And I just listen to that. I don't know why. I don't know why this happened, but I know I'm going to do something with it, and that's why I showed up. But I really, truly think these steps in my book is what created that space. It created my life being about something greater, about helping, about being love and truth, about being positive, about affecting everyone in my world in a good way, about being that guy, no matter what it looked like. That's why I'm a no matter what guy. Because no matter what, I'm going to be happy and be loved. I don't care how weird it is or how uncomfortable I get, I'm going to do it. And some of you in this room know that, you know, because you're close to me. You know that sometimes I get weird. And that's the reality, right? But I love it, and I know you love it too. And that's truly the way I communicate with him, is I do a lot of praying, and then I allow myself to listen. And I have patience and belief like crazy because it works. Not because I want to be this guy, because I am this guy. And it's obvious. And that's where I go with it. Any other questions? To answer your question, I'm bad with questions because I go off on stories. Right here.
So I don't have a question.
Oh, sure. This is Roseanne. I would love her to give a testimonial to you.
I had seen him in the same place a few times, and we had a joint friend who was pretty connected to me, and she was in Panama and said, "Come stay with me." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'll just jump on a plane and I'll go to Panama, right?" And so finally she talked me through, like, "No, I really want you there. I love you, and come with me." And I said, "Well, okay, I'll come, but I would never go alone." She goes, "Well, call Nate Anderson." And I said, "Sure, I'll just call Nate Anderson." I mean, I already knew the man. I'd seen him, and there was some kind of connection. So I texted him, "Hey, Nate, want to go be my escort?" Now, I could be his mother, probably twice. So I said, "Do you want to escort me to Panama?" And he's like, "Sure, let's go to Panama." And we literally went to Panama, and we did a service project for kids, and it was a week that changed our lives, and we love each other. He is the real deal. And I don't know Kelly, but I love her because she loves him and I love him. And the same with Chris. And he didn't know I was going to be here tonight, so this isn't staged. Is that right? Yes. I love you. I love you. And so, I don't know if he's going to sell something tonight or what he's going to do. And if you stay connected to him, your life gets full of love whether you want it to or not. Because he just loves you. And if I were 40 years younger, I told him I would have moved into the back of your truck, and that's just where I'd be. So, he's amazing.
Thanks, Roseanne. I like Roseanne.
about showing up, because you brought up the Panama thing. So like she said, she asked me to go, and I was like, yeah, because I'm the yes man. God says to say yes. Just to go. As we go, the person we're going with then creates a humanitarian project that we had no idea about. And that's truly what we were meant to go and do there, right? We had no idea that was going to be a part of it, but we both showed up to go, and God had set it up so that when, a week before, she's like, okay, I got this humanitarian project with the poorest kids in Panama to help this fundraiser to raise money for them for this athleta sport, they call it. It's like a obstacle course sport. But we went there and we got to support these kids, see their house, raise money for them, and really change their lives. And in turn, they changed our lives to see what it was really truly about to live in those circumstances. And we came away with such a great friendship, a love that I never knew I could have with someone just by saying yes. And it wouldn't have been created had I not said yes. Had I not gone, okay, you're putting weird stuff in my life. I'm going to Panama, someone I don't know that well, to see somebody else I don't know that well. And okay, I'm all in. But that shows me that it's just about saying yes and removing negative distractions out of my life and positive actions so that I can create results. Okay, we're almost done. I want to explain what this is, okay? This is the recordings. It's a 2-disc CD of my book. So I didn't know this was going to even be created. This is how God works in my life. An amazing woman came into my life. I needed something because I've been doing presentations and people are like, you've got to spread this. Something's got to start going, you know? And so this was created and I had them recorded on my phone, and the writer had them. And so what we did is we put them together in a 2-disc, and this goes through chapters 1 through 10 of my book and how really God did the first 10 things. It's really the story of what God did to me and what I learned along the way. And what I want to do with this is put the intention to create good with it, right? Because I'm not in this business to make money, or I would be copying somebody else. For all I know, my story isn't going to make money. Kelly thinks so. So if I'm going to have her invest in me, you know, a couple mil, you know. But the reality is I want to create good with this. So what I'm asking about for this is if you're interested to hear me go through my 10 chapters, you either pay what you think it's worth, and I promise you that money will go to something good. Or if you don't have the money, take the value that you think this has, and then you put it out in the world in a positive way. You create something with that intention that I gave to you and make it go somewhere else. This is called Through Love and Truth. And it tells my story on the back. It's got 2 beautiful CDs, and it's completed with 3 pictures of me. One on each CD, and one on the front. Bonus. So if you're interested in these, I got plenty of them out there. And really, truly, what I want is I want this to create good. I want to keep what I'm doing in life to keep moving forward. And I really want to challenge you to take the effort that God's put into me to make my life terrible and hard and struggle, and then do the hard stuff and annoying and embarrassing stuff like stand up here, and I want you to have it mean something. And I want you to do something with it, minimal, right? And if you get one of these, I want you to get on my Facebook page, and I want you to tell me what you did. That would be amazing, to know that tonight created something more than a bunch of noise in a big room. And with all the genuine love I have, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kelly. I truly appreciate you showing up, and I love you. Thank you.